is the synopsis of my upcoming documentary, Abuse in Plain Sight. Logline: after filing a formal complaint against 2 police officers, a single London filmmaker uncovers a decade-long campaign of illegal surveillance and exploitation targeting her, putting her into a fight for justice that exposes a powerful hidden system. Synopsis: on 20th January 2023, Buphawit files a formal complaint against 2 police officers. Later that same year, around early August 2023, her 34-year-old daughter and her boyfriend of 12 years suddenly break up. She almost immediately starts seeing a new man she meets online, who has supposedly never been to her place. It's always her who goes to visit him, or they meet elsewhere for holidays together. On 30th August 2023, Bupa receives an update from the police on the progress of the complaint she made in January 2023. In early October 2023, Bupa starts noticing signs that her and her daughter's personal and sensitive information may be unlawfully obtained and misused, disseminated widely. On 30th October 2023, Bupa receives an outcome of her police complaint made in January 2023, which is not appeal. In or around October 2024, Bupa begins to uncover even more chilling clues that lead her to believe her private life has been non-consensually filmed and exploited for maybe over 10 years, with illegal footage allegedly live streamed and monetized without her knowledge or consent. Attempts to seek legal help are repeatedly blocked, including on her online activities, and communications also seem to be unlawfully monitored at all times, as if to prevent her from seeking help, leaving her isolated and fearful that powerful actors are working to silence her. When she tries to consult legal professionals in person instead, Bupa experiences what she perceives as coordinated intimidation by unknown individuals, including men making shooting gestures with imitation firearms toward her in broad daylight, causing her significant fear and persistent nightmares to this day. Determined not to give in, Bupa takes action herself. In December 2024, she sends a cease and desist pre-action protocol letter to the police she believes are centrally involved. No response follows, and even her follow-up is ignored. Her fight to reclaim privacy and pursue justice has only just begun, setting the stage for a tense, urgent battle against a hidden network of abuse and obstruction of justice. Hoping for respite, Bupa moves to Denmark, only to find the abuse follows her. Back in the UK, she resolves to fight systematically, assuming evidence to apply for an injunction and initiate court proceedings, but E's submission to the Royal Court of Justice or the High Court mysteriously vanishes, suggesting interference rather than error. Relocating repeatedly, she believes every new resident, even share hostels, has already been compromised, reinforcing her fear of constant monitoring and exploitation. Every attempt to advance her case triggers escalated harassment and intimidation, while warnings are deleted, evidence tampered with, and her daughter may also be targeted. Facing relentless abuse, blocked legal access, and escalating threats, Bupa hits rock bottom. Therefore, each step toward justice becomes a race against time, as she fights not only for herself, but to protect her daughter and stop the hidden network determined to silence them. Despite relentless surveillance, systemic sexual abuse, threats, and commercial exploitation, Bupa seizes control of her story through her blog and documentary, exposing systemic sexual abuse, the misuse of private information, and commercial profiteering on a massive scale, while her reputation, career, and livelihood appear sabotaged by repeated rejections, and social ostracisms. The fight for justice has thus inflicted personal, physical, and financial strain, yet she endures. Determined to reclaim her life, she initiates court proceeding once more, fighting not just for justice but for survival. Upa's fight is not yet over, but it doesn't matter. She's won back her confidence and is determined to fight for justice till the end. In conclusion, Abuse in Plain Sight documentary is an intimate, urgent investigation into severe privacy violation, abuse of power, gross human rights abuses, and institutional failure, revealing the human cost of living under constant observation and exploitation. Through profound trauma and absence of legal representation, Upa's voice remains clear and resolute. She fights not just for justice, but for her daughter and for every woman left vulnerable. Abuse in Plain Sight must end. Justice and fair trial focus. This documentary, like a Kramer investigative series, Making a Murderer, examines systemic obstacles to justice. Central to the film is the protagonist's repeated difficulty accessing legal representation, which she interprets as interference that could undermine a fair trial. By documenting her struggle, the film highlights violations of fundamental human rights, including the right to legal counsel under Article 6 of the European Convention on Human Rights, and explores the broader consequences when institutional failures threaten due process. The series places the audience in her perspective, showing the real-world impact of denied access to justice and the psychological weight of fighting legal battles without proper support, particularly against powerful actors. Director's vision and cultural impact. My name is Pupa. I am an aspiring writer and filmmaker with over 20 years of experience, both in front of and behind the camera. Ironically, mostly in front of the camera. I have independently written and directed 3 to 4 short films so far, and I'm now ready to tell a deeply personal feature-length story. This documentary is at its core a film about voice, the fight to reclaim it, the forces that threaten it, and the courage required to speak when every system feels unresponsive. The protagonist, me, a Southeast Asian woman living alone in London, recounts years of digital intrusion, intimidation, and obstruction by individuals she perceives as powerful. My vision is not to adjudicate these claims, but to create a cinematic space where my life experience can be expressed fully, honestly, and without distortion. The film's visual language mirrors the psychological landscape she describes: fragmented reflections, screens that glow in the dark, shadows that linger just a moment too long. These motifs evoke the emotional reality of feeling watched, unheard, and unprotected. The camera becomes both witness and companion, a counterweight to the sense of invisible observation she believes surrounds her. Tonally, the film balances intimacy with investigation. Her voice anchors the narrative, guiding viewers through her fears, interpretations, and repeated attempts to seek justice. Alongside her testimony, the documentary explores broader systemic issues: digital vulnerability, racialized targeting, institutional reliability, and the fragility of democratic safeguards. This dual approach ensures the story remains deeply personal while resonating with urgent global conversations about power, privacy, and accountability. Central to the documentary is the struggle for legal and professional recognition. She recounts obstacles in accessing representation, interference with court filings, and the persistent sense that her daughter may also be at risk. By allegedly preventing her from exercising her right to counsel, the system itself appears to enable ongoing harm, effectively obstructing a fair trial and violating fundamental rights under Article 6 of the European Convention on Human Rights. This case is therefore of urgent public interest, exposing how institutional failures can perpetuate abuse and compromise justice. This documentary therefore examines systemic abuse and the obstruction of justice, showing how the protagonist's repeated inability to access legal representation has allowed alleged perpetrators to continue exploiting and surveilling her, even while court proceedings are pending. By documenting her journey, the film transforms trauma into testimony, exposing the human cost of prolonged, unlawful, and intrusive surveillance, systemic obstruction, and the denial of due process. The story also touches on racialized vulnerability and the exploitation of marginalized individuals, situating a deeply personal experience within pressing social debates about equity, privacy, and power. A sophisticated pattern of harassment extends beyond direct actions, involving third parties who are allegedly influenced through unlawful monitoring of her online communications, creative works, and legal strategies.